Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today we have a lot of Steelers news topics to discuss on today's program. First up, Gabe Davis had his second free agency visit to Pittsburgh today, getting another medical checkup. I'll let you guys know the latest surrounding his situation and why the Buffalo Bills might be gearing up to steal Gabe Davis away from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then Aaron Rodgers had his media availability this week today in Pittsburgh. Talked about the Tampa Bay joint practice, Roman Wilson, and more. Going to be breaking down what QB1 had to say earlier today. And then we'll discuss a little bit about whether or not the Steelers should consider keeping Skylar Thompson as the QB3 of this football team over rookie Will Heyward after a really strong start to the preseason. We'll discuss my thoughts on that later in today's show, so make sure you guys stick around. But make sure you guys stay locked in here at Steelers Talk, because if they make a wide receiver signing in the coming days, whether it's Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham Jr., or somebody that gets cut after roster cut down day, we will make sure to get you guys a breaking news video right here on the channel. So if you guys want the latest Steelers wide receiver updates, make sure you click that subscribe button for breaking news updates every time Omar Khan makes a move. So today, Gabe Davis, free agent wide receiver, visited the Pittsburgh Steelers for the second time this summer. He visited a couple of weeks back, and apparently the medical checkup didn't look too great. But with the season, fast approaching, and Davis having a couple more weeks to kind of heal up from that knee injury that he suffered in Jacksonville last year, the Steelers wanted to do another medical checkup with him because the Steelers are interested in adding him if they feel like his knee can hold up. But it was also reported today that tomorrow, Gabe Davis will be visiting his former team in the Buffalo Bills, who, of course, have Josh Allen as their starting quarterback. Jerry Dulac broke the news earlier today, saying wide receiver Gabe Davis having a medical follow-up with Steelers today, visiting his former team Buffalo tomorrow. Steelers had medical concerns when Davis visited the previous time. So, like I said, guys, Davis's knee was not in a good spot the first time that he visited the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Steelers are still interested in a skill set like Gabe Davis's, so they're bringing him back here to see if the medicals can check out just before the start of the NFL season. But you take a look here at the Buffalo Bills, who are going to be hosting him on a visit tomorrow. At the time of me recording this video, Davis's visit with the Steelers is over, and he has left without signing a contract. So at the time of me recording this, that visit to the Buffalo Bills is still on. And you take a look at their current wide receiver room. They got Khalil Shakir, who's their number one receiver last year, more of a gadget piece. Keon Coleman, high draft pick for them 2 years ago, but he's just okay. Joshua Palmer, same thing. He's fine, but nothing special. Curtis Samuel, very similar again. And then Elijah Moore is more depth at this point. And, you take a look at the two wide receiver rooms that Gabe Davis is going to have to choose between. All right, which group do you think that he's going to be able to have more playing time with and be able to have more of a role in the offense with? All right, in my opinion, between the two groups, I actually think he could get more playing time with the Buffalo Bills than with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And honestly, if I'm Gabe Davis, I probably want to go to Buffalo if they offer me a contract. All right, not only does he have an established chemistry with Josh Allen, but also there isn't really an established number one X wide receiver in that Buffalo offense right now. Like, you hope Keon Coleman can be that for them, but he could go in there, and he's an established deep threat with multiple seasons over 700 yards with Josh Allen throwing him the football. He's an established presence in that locker room, whereas in Pittsburgh, I think this team really does like Roman Wilson. They like Calvin Austin III, and they want those guys to be starters. So if he comes to Pittsburgh, he's going to be more of a role player, a rotational piece, X wide receiver depth in case DK Metcalf gets hurt, but he might actually be able to carve out a nice role for himself as a full-time starter there in Buffalo if he goes back to his former team. Plus, the quarterback there, he already has established chemistry with, whereas with Aaron Rodgers, he has never played with him and will have to build chemistry with him very, very quickly. Honestly, if I'm Gabe Davis, I think I'm going to have more success in Buffalo than I would have here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's also possible that his medical checkup with the Steelers just doesn't go well again. I mean, there's been multiple teams that have brought in Gabe Davis for visits. The New Orleans Saints, the San Francisco 49ers, the New York Giants, Pittsburgh Steelers multiple times. All right, like if his medical checkups are not going in a good direction with all of those teams and the Buffalo Bills as well, like there's a chance that he just doesn't play for an NFL team this year if that knee is really cooked. We did talk about Gabe Davis and how he could fit in with the Pittsburgh Steelers in yesterday's show. I recommend that you guys check out that video after we're done with today's show if you want to find out what Davis's role would be here in Pittsburgh, what he does well versus what he doesn't do well. We covered it all in yesterday's show, so I won't rehash any of that, but I'll put the chip in the top right if you want to check out yesterday's show. So let me know down there in the comment section, who gets Gabe Davis? Is it going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, type PIT, or is it going to be the Buffalo Bills, type BUF, if you think the Billies are going to steal Gabe Davis away from the Pittsburgh Steelers? This will be the pinned comment on today's show, so in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Ethos. While I'm talking about Ethos today, go down there in the comment section and answer today's pinned question. And now let's have a word from our sponsor here at Ethos. And the summer before I started here at Chat Sports, guys, my family lost my late grandpa. And as you tend to do when you lose a loved one, you start to kind of think about your own mortality and what would happen to the people dependent on you if something were to happen. With today's sponsor, Ethos, your family is protected. Cassie and I are getting married soon, and shortly after that, I imagine we'll buy a house and start having some kids. If something were to happen to me, I want the last thing the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills. So I trust Ethos to keep them protected. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. There's no medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions to get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos today. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily to get your free quote today. A big shout out to Ethos for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So now Aaron Rodgers, QB1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, had his media availability today after practice, and he had some very interesting things to say about the joint practice session that the Steelers had versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. We put out a video breaking down how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the winners of that practice, but Rodgers had some very interesting things to say about his perspective from that joint session at Acrisure Stadium last Thursday. He said failure is always best this time of year to learn from and be able to let the coaches go through it, let Art go through it, but I thought we started practice really well in the 7 shots. Then Tampa kind of got after us in the team run with very correctable things that we kind of messed up angle-wise and one declaration. I feel like we got them pretty good on 3rd down, and we had a chance in the 2-minute and went 4 and out. But good film to work on and they had their guys out there. The things that I loved was that they felt confident bringing a lot of different pressures, so I thought it was good work for us in the protection game. So last week on Thursday in that joint practice, guys, no fans were there. Reporters were not allowed to specifically say what was happening in the team drills, so the Buccaneers and the Steelers had full reign to run their full offensive schemes, run their full defensive schemes, and Tampa, a team that is really known for their blitz looks, with Todd Bowles being a really good defensive play caller, and the Steelers got to go pretty much a nice little dress rehearsal there before they're going to see all these kind of disguised looks, sim pressures, all this stuff that we're going to see from these NFL defenses once we get to the regular season. So going up versus Tampa Bay was good for this football team, guys, because Tampa is a really good team. They have a top 10 roster in this league. They're once again favorited to win the NFC South, and for good reason. They've made the playoffs multiple years in a row. Not only that, guys, but they have a lot of cohesion. Outside of Liam Cohen, their offensive coordinator, leaving, a lot of players are returning. They don't have a lot of new players. A lot of the players on their roster know how to play with each other and already have that established chemistry, whereas the Steelers are still a team trying to build that chemistry together, and hopefully they can develop that by the end of the season so that once we get to the playoffs, they're way more competitive versus a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than they were in this early kind of preseason practice that they had against an established playoff team there in the Buccaneers. But Rodgers also said that he believes in the person that I believe will be the second leading snap getter in the wide receiver room for the Steelers this year, and that is Roman Wilson. And Rodgers certainly seems to believe in him as this team team's wide receiver too, even if a lot of people in Steelers Nation don't have a high level of belief in the second-year receiver out of Michigan. This is what Rodgers had to say about Rowe. I think he's improving every day. You saw the results, and he went out there and made a couple splash plays, but we're going to coach him hard. He's a great talent, but that can make the difference. We're going to hold him to a standard of excellence. He has a chance to be a big-time talent in the league. So Roman has been pretty impressive over the last couple weeks or so in training camp practices, and he's had 2 pretty good performances in the preseason games. He's going to have another opportunity to show what he can do against Carolina on Thursday. And guys, I think if Pittsburgh can use him right and his skill set correctly, I think he can be an absolute weapon for this Steelers offense on the crossers that Arthur Smith loves to run. He is so good at getting open in those kind of crossing route type of situations. Now, if you're asking him to run the full route tree and all that different stuff, I'm not sure Roman's going to be able to do that kind of stuff. I think he is better in the slot than he is outside, where the Steelers are currently using him more often than not. But he showed in that game versus Tampa, he can just flat out fly, man. He's got 4.3 speed. He gets to that top speed very, very quickly. That acceleration is legit, and he can be a legitimate deep weapon that forces defenses to respect the Steelers' deep passing game in years to come. And I think that, based on what I've been seeing on the offensive film through the first 2 weeks of the preseason, offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is using Roman's skill set correctly. He's using him a lot on these crossing routes, using him on posts. He had that great intermediate crosser where he schemed him wide ass open last week for that other really big gain when Skylar Thompson hit him for that nice piece. Like, he's had some really nice routes throughout this preseason and throughout camp as well. And if they can continue to use him in that right way, I think that Roman Wilson, even though he is a little bit limited, I don't think he's going to be a number 1 receiver in this league. I think he's more of a secondary kind of complementary piece, and that's really all he's got the potential to become. I think he could hit that potential as soon as this year, and that would be fantastic if he could do that for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Do you believe in Roman Wilson? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. For me, I believe that Roman Wilson can fulfill the role that Arthur Smith has envisioned for the number 2 receiver in this offense. Do you agree with me on that? Simply give me a yes or a no to give me your opinion. So now let's talk about a burning question that a lot of people are talking about in Steelers Nation today, which is whether or not the Steelers should choose Skylar Thompson or Will Howard to be their number 3 quarterback heading into the 2025 regular season. Of course, roster cutdown days are coming. The Steelers usually only carry 3 quarterbacks. Most teams only carry 3 quarterbacks, and somebody has to be designated to the practice squad. There's some debate as to which quarterback should get that QB3 designation. Now, remember, Skylar actually played in front of Will Howard when both of these guys were at Kansas State. So Skylar, has experience, being ahead of Will Howard on a quarterback depth chart. But Will was playing really well in practices for the Steelers before his injury unfortunately happened to his finger there. But then Skylar has really taken the opportunity to get all these reps in the preseason games and has absolutely run with it. He's got almost a 70% completion percentage. He's put up almost 350 yards in 2 games on limited reps as well, because even though he's getting a lot of reps for preseason, it's not like they're full games, right? And then he's had 3 touchdowns to just 1 interception, and that 1 interception was like one that was bobbled up into the air right by the wide receiver. So I think that Skylar Thompson's looked pretty darn good, and it even has Steelers insiders talking about him potentially becoming the QB3 for the Steelers this year over Will Howard. This is what Ray Filipaldo from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette had to say this week. Skylar's kind of forced their decision here. They honestly do have a very tough decision to make. They can evaluate the practices, but you and I both know Mike Tomlin puts more weight on these preseason games, and when you don't have anything to go by there with Will Howard, that's an advantage for Skylar Thompson. Now, listen, guys, I think that Will is going to be the QB3 when he eventually gets healthy. I think Skylar's played really well in the preseason, and I think he will be at least on an NFL practice squad this season. I think he's earned that right. He's been one of the best, backup, quarterbacks for any NFL team in the preseason to this point. But I just think it makes a lot more sense to have Will Howard be the QB3 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, I think that the reason for that is that Will is the only long-term possibility on this Steelers quarterback roster right now. Aaron Rodgers obviously isn't a long-term solution. I don't think the Steelers view Mason Rudolph as any sort of long-term solution either. He's just a good backup. And Skylar Thompson, I don't think they view him as a future franchise quarterback either. And that's not necessarily to say that Will is going to get a chance to be this team's franchise quarterback or anything like that. This team doesn't owe him anything. He's just a 6th-round pick. But he does have some nice physical tools, and he was a 6th-round pick that even Aaron Rodgers has been saying could have a bright future. So I think that you want to keep Will at QB3 instead of Skylar Thompson because Rodgers is going to be playing as long as the Steelers are in playoff contention, right? As long as the Steelers still have a chance, Rodgers is going to be in there as long as he's not injured. But if it gets to the point here where the Steelers stink and they're out of playoff contention at any point this year, they may turn to a younger quarterback to give him a shot to prove himself before we get to the 2026 NFL season. And that quarterback, if it gets to that point, I would rather it be a 6th-round rookie in Will Heyward versus a guy like Skylar Thompson who's already had his chances to be an NFL starter and has failed, and is somebody that's older, somebody that you're not really giving any opportunity to be your long-term franchise quarterback to. So for me, if Will Heyward is healthy, all right, I have him on as my QB3 on the Steelers roster. And then I do want to keep Skylar Thompson on the roster. I want to keep him not on the 53, on the practice squad. I would like to keep him. But honestly, guys, I think that there's a lot of teams out there that could use a QB3 like Skylar Thompson. So the chances of him getting poached are absolutely there for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they want to put Skylar on the practice squad. It's a tough situation because Skylar's a good backup quarterback and you would like to keep him on the roster, but at the same time, Will Heyward, I think, showed you more than enough in the practices, his command of the offense, all that stuff. He was outplaying Skylar Thompson in Latrobe before he got injured. So I think that Will Heyward has to be the option at QB3 to start the season if he's healthy. Now, if Will is still dealing with that injury, you can keep Skylar on the roster to start the year and then put Will on IR or something like that, still keep him in the building. But I think that if Will Heyward is healthy and ready to go for week 1, he's got to be the QB3 of this football team. So who will be the QB3 for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? I think it's going to be Will Heyward if he's healthy, but let me know what you guys think. Down there in the comment section, type WH for Will Heyward or type ST for Skylar Thompson. I think Skylar's had a hell of a preseason. I think he's going to be on some sort of roster for an NFL team this year, whether it's practice squad or 53. I think he's earned that right, but I do think for the Steelers situation in particular, Will Heyward tends to make more sense. Now, before I go here, I do have some final items to discuss with you guys on today's show. We'll start here with Cam Heyward, who actually practiced not only in individual periods today at Steelers practice, but for the first time in many weeks has participated in team drills today. So that means, the periods where, it's essentially scrimmage reps. And he was in full pads today. He was working with the ones, and he's working his way back to really being ready for that week 1 matchup versus the New York Jets. Now, the reason why that's significant, guys, is because Cam hasn't been participating in these team drills, for a long time, since the first week we were in Latrobe, because he's been looking for a pay raise. Now, the fact that he's at practice either means A, the Steelers and Cam are getting close to a pay raise agreement, or B, he has kind of accepted the fact that he's not getting a pay raise after signing a contract last offseason. But no matter what, guys, it does appear that Cam will be out there playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers when they line up versus the New York Jets in week 1. However they resolve this situation, whether they give him a pay raise or not, it certainly seems like Cam is going to be ready to go. And then also we have a little bit of an injury update here from Jerry Dulac on long snapper Christian Coots, who apparently has a sternum fracture and is going to be out for a couple of weeks. But Jerry also says that he could conceivably return for the season opener against the New York Jets. So hopefully we hope Kuntz gets better as soon as possible. But if he can't go, it's going to be Jake McQuaid, who they just signed yesterday as their next long snapper up. So he'll be able to get some snaps and some reps on Thursday versus the Carolina Panthers. He has a lot of experience as an NFL long snapper. He's played in a lot of games as a long snapper for a bunch of different teams. So if Kuntz can't go, I think McQuaid can hold down the fort for a couple of weeks. And then also Mike Tomlin said today at his press conference that Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Cam Heyward, and TJ Watt are not in consideration to play versus the Panthers on Thursday. Dave Canales, the Panthers head coach, has already said his starters, or most of them, will not be playing on Thursday night. But we could see guys like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, Joey Porter Jr., and some other players we haven't seen so far during the preseason when we go live there on Thursday night for our Steelers Talk Watch Party. So if you guys want to click that subscribe button and join us for our Steelers Talk Watch Party on Thursday, we'll be going live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And we also have extensive Steelers coverage for you guys on this channel for free, just like we gave to you today. So if you want to click that subscribe button, join the Steelers Talk family today, we would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.